All right, so 1 point perspective, I think what I'll do, give me a scale here. So if I want to make this in, I want to make this in 3/8 scale. So I've got my 3/8 here. And I think I'm just going to sketch out, like, I'm not going to make this too big. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here we go. Here's my top and my bottom. I'm going to make a 9-foot ceiling. 9 feet. Sorry, this focus is coming in and out. Try not to screw that up too much. 9 feet at 3/8 inch scale. All right, so if I sketch out a rectangle, this from here to here is 9 feet in scale for the height. So, and I recommend you follow along while I'm drawing in your sketchbook, because that'll help you if you are able to. If you are not at work or doing something else where you can't draw, but if you can, please follow along. All right, and one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I love how scales will do that. 10 is 9. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to make this 5.5, and I'll go about there halfway. All right. Now, if I were able to measure this, if I were using a drafting table with a Mayline bar, I could make this all parallel and right angles. But I want to just do this in a way that is approximate, because I think that this is the really more the way you might work anyway in the world. So I'm going to put my scale this is kind of an important feature here. So I did measure scale for the height, and I'm going to put marks at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the ceiling is 9. All right, 1, 2, there they are. And when I'm making those marks, you see I take the pencil and kind of drill it a little bit rather than go like do. It keeps that from getting too wide. It improves accuracy. All right, so then I'm going to choose my vanishing point right there. Not in the center, it doesn't have to be in the middle. And again, your vanishing point can be anywhere along that line. But wherever you place the vanishing point is going to be directly in front of the viewer. So that'll be like the center of the viewer's vision. So what it means is that the vanishing point is closer to this wall that's here. This wall will be seen more in a more foreshortened angle than this one out here. So again, I'm approximating horizontal Get that close enough. Right. And I can put it either on this corner or I can put it on the vanishing point. I will pivot the straight edge off that. Oop, see, don't do that. Don't knock it out of the way either. There. There. So you can see there's a lot of difference between this, the shape of these two walls, and that's because you're here, so you see this at a more oblique angle. All right. I think just 1, 2, 3. I know I'm going to want to put something up here. So from the vanishing point through the 3 foot mark, that's 3 feet, that's 2 feet, that's 1 foot, and so on. You don't necessarily have to write those down, but it can't, if you need to, I guess I'm doing that for demonstration. But here's my mark at 3 feet in scale, 3/8 scale, and then just out along the wall. That gives me 3 feet in scale here, really anywhere along the wall. So you can see that it will appear to get much taller as it gets closer to you. I would probably, because of the sharp angle there, I mean, you're going to crop this like maybe somewhere there. The closer you get to the viewer, the more it's going to distort down in this corner. So last week I did this where I sketched out in like a shape on the floor. Now again, I'm estimating the size of that because I don't have it projected, but I can measure the heights, and so I can measure for the heights out here. If I know that from here, like if I go over like there and up, and if this is like a little side, this is going to be a side table that's 1.5 feet, maybe it's 18 inches off the floor. I can just go put a mark between 1 and 2 at 18. Right there, so this is 18. It's closest, yeah, that's okay. It's a little bit, this is where you can see if you're even like a little bit of inaccuracy will show up. Close enough. Then if I go over and up, back out, I can't just go up from the corner up to the line because the line is on the wall and this is away from the wall. So you're going to go over to the wall, up, and then back out. Then I can draw up to that horizontal line I drew right across there. Then I've got the side of that. There. And the freehanding this, it's a little soft, but as long as I'm close, then I can just, sometimes I'll just kind of like bend a line or make it a little bit fat to fill it in. Hey, what is it? Come here. This is very distracting. Elliot wants to play very, very badly. You can sit on my lap instead. Elliot? Oh, no, he wants to. Yeah, they want to eat or play or something. Anyway, does this seem clear what I'm doing right here?
Not really.
Okay, so tell me why why isn't it?
Well, I was following along with you and I understood it to the point where like when you went up to the 18 inches and then you drew that line from the vanishing point.
Yes.
But then I think because I was following along and not really watching you, I got a little lost when you started making the cube structure.
Okay, good, thank you. I'll go back and redraw that.
Great, thank you.
Yes. Good to know. Now see, you can see I wiped out my line there. I might grab a little tracing paper. So that I don't lose it. Oh, boy. Dots, old buddy old pal. There. So this is one of the things that tracing paper is for. So you can make a base drawing, put tracing paper over it, and make a drawing, and still I can make changes on the tracing paper without altering the original, which I'm doing now because in erasing this I had to alter the original. So there's 3, 2, and 1. It's a little easier to see it when it's in person. So, this line at 3 feet is meant just to demonstrate this is what it looks like when you've got 3 feet in height along the wall. And if I sketch out a shape on the floor here, which is really like the footprint of a piece of furniture. No. Okay. All right. So if this is a side table, the side table is going to be 18 inches tall. That's the height of the table surface. So down here, between the 1 and the 2 is 1.5, and so I'll draw from the vanishing point, intersect that point at 1.5, and then draw across, just like on the wall like that. To draw the height of this up, I can't just go from the corner up to that line because that line is farther. It's on the wall, and the table is not right up against the wall. So I draw a line over to the wall from the base of that table up. And then back out in space over the table.
And if you were using a drafting table, those would be vertical and horizontal lines?
Yep, they would be vertical and horizontal.
Okay.
And so you could use like the Mayline bar and just like, and then here you would put your triangle on the Mayline bar to draw those verticals. So then here, so this horizontal is the front edge of the top, and I need that so that I can draw vertical from the corner up. So what I'm really kind of going to be doing here is drawing the legs of the table. Get rid of that awkwardness. right there. And if I've drawn this accurately, I should be able to draw from this corner to the vanishing point, and it'll intersect that back corner there, and then this one the same. And if that's close enough, that is close enough right there. Was that clearer? A little bit?
That actually makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
Good, you are welcome. Good, well this is, yes, always ask me to repeat something because, and I don't mind doing it. And I know that this is the kind of thing where I'm going to need to tell you multiple times before you start remembering. So there's really no other way to learn it. Okay, so that's helpful there. Now, I might have like let's say if I have a piece of furniture here, let's say I put in a chair. And bring this, right? I have a side table and I have a chair. So I'm going to continue this like 1.5, this like mark at 1.5 feet. Put that at 3 feet. There we go. See, I was a little inaccurate. That's okay. So let's say I have a chair here. I don't want it too far from the table because then you wouldn't be able to, maybe it's a side table for sitting in the chair and setting down a drink or something. Oh no, it broke. Move this like a little bit. Have this go a little closer. Yeah, that's fine. A little close. Thinking a little closer to the wall than the table, but well, we'll see. So in estimating, like if I'm estimating that this is approximately a square, from this is the back edge, this is like the closer edge. I need to make it a little bit shorter than I think, otherwise I'm not going to get the foreshortening I need. If I make this like too big, then when I draw it, the seat's going to look too wide. Oh shoot. There's that. Okay. Good. So now here, I'm going to sketch out things like some of my vertical edges. I'm not really ready to commit to all of this yet. Now you'll see that, like, I want to make this like a side chair that has no arms. Oh, Elliot, stop. Oh, he is disappointed. So I want to make this side chair with no arms because I want to show, like, I want to show you that you would see the table, like if this is like the over, little bit up, there, and then over. So the chair, I'm just going to start it like it's a block, similar to the way I drew the table. I pretty much can draw it like it's the table. There. That's a little bit ugly. I can see my, well, I'm a little angled here, so tough to see this really clearly. Like it's hard for me to see it the way you're seeing it, since you're seeing the overhead and I see it at an angle here. Okay. So you can see where things get a little bit, they start to overlap a little bit. And it can be hard to see what's what. In that case, let's color code it. One of the many uses for your colored pencils. I know here's my table. There. Here's my chair. It's a little bit too weak. Right. There we go. I can see them. I can see the difference between the two of them better now. I'm just going to draw that, like what I can see here in my chair. I think I'll just approximate the height. Now that's pretty deep. Now I haven't put on any any mass on it, so let me just draw the thickness of the cushion. There, that's better. Still a little too, I think it's the seat maybe a little bit too much. Don't forget that interior surface. Hey, that's not bad.
Duffy, can I ask a question?
Go right ahead.
So I understand that if you wanted to estimate a certain height of an object, you can measure it on the wall.
Yes.
If you wanted to measure a certain width of it, what line are you measuring it against?
That I am inventing. You mean like the width here?
Yes.
So like the depth of it?
Correct.
I am approximating.
Always?
In this case, yes. The only way to do depth and to make it based on a measurement is to do plan projection, which means we would have, like I showed you, like it just in the sketch, where you have like the floor plan above and then the perspective drawing below. You really need a drafting table to be precise with that. So what I'm doing is approximating, like, and you can like practice this. Like if you just have like a square. Oops, can't see that. I'll draw it up. So like a square, And you can, I mean, you can you can approximate about what a square is. Even, so same dimensions, height and width. If you were to try to make that shape, if you were to try to make that shape in perspective, where you use like the height here as the depth of it, you can see where it does not look like a square, right?
Right.
So what you need to do is cut it off. I mean, really, this is like going to be like I think about half of what I drew for the depth here would be a more accurate approximation of a square in perspective. Yeah. Something kind of like that would be more like a square in perspective. And this is something that I think you just have to practice estimating. And I think it's good. It's good practice. A lot of the fine, I guess, so like maybe like the finer details of perspective come down to your familiarity with the process and your ability to decide that something looks right. And you can't. It's hard to decide that something looks right if you don't know what is right. That's why at the beginning this will go slowly, and you will carefully draw everything out, painstakingly.
Okay, thanks for explaining.
Yep, you are welcome. So what I'm showing you is a way that you can approximate scale, like a scale that you might be using, like 3/8, and we have the height. But this is a shortcut that leaves out the way you measure for depth. But so having the height does help. And then here, that is pretty good. So maybe that's, I don't know, maybe let's see. I'll test this again. Let's make a rectangle. So I'm just going to do straight rectangle. So this is a rectangle standing up. Or not here. Right here. So I got a rectangle standing up here. If I try to approximate that, so I'll go over here, try to approximate that. This is going to look a lot deeper. It's a little hard. I think it's harder to do this with a rectangle with sides that aren't the same. Yeah, so this might be a more accurate depiction of, like, if this were your rectangle in plan view, it might look like that in perspective. Although I guess that depends on, I think I made this a little bit too wide. All right. Yeah, enough of that. I think that would be a decent one for that height in. Right, but I guess I was just testing that out to see. So now All right. Mm. All right. Now the you've practiced drawing some furniture in perspective. If I were applying it here, I would just look at my reference image and approximate my object. If I look at the photo and I see like, yeah, the seat's not that deep, I would choose either to cut off the back or the front. If the front should be a little bit forward of the table, then I have to take it off the back, even though that back is where I have more work. Too bad. Then I'm going to have to move all this. And, learning is a messy process. So I might sketch this out here and see I'm not changing it much. Just a little bit. And that looks better, even though I didn't really change it much. Now this, let's see here. We'll go over this with a very light marker. This is an N1. Now I suggested you get N0, N2, N4. I'm using an N1 because I happen to have it. And I think my N0s are all dry. Good, so you can see where this, on the tracing paper, the tracing paper is not absorbent. This will pick it up really easily and then leave a residue on this height. What? Okay, brush this off of here. Now, what if something is farther away from the wall? You may be wondering. Let's say we have a carpet. I'll see, like somewhere here in front of this chair, I'm going to put a table. So if I want to approximate the width of it, like the depth of this table, sort of like sitting in front of the chair but a little wider on the floor, I will go a little bit past the leg of the chair, and then here a little closer to me than the leg of the chair. Right, and then here, I'll do this. It's a bit awkward, but if you have something like right below the vanishing point, you're going to get vertical, or in this case, it's a near vertical for the depth of it, and that's just accurate. Okay, so you can see my it's a little wider than the chair. It goes a little bit like, the depth of it is like farther back and closer. If this is going to be approximately 18 inches height, my seat height is already here. at that height, so I can just draw out from the seat height, up from here. This will just be vertical. Oh, I can't because that's the seat. If I draw like this, is going to be too tall because this is actually closer. So I catch myself in a mistake, skipping a step. So I have to go back to here, all the way back to the wall, all the way up to the 18, which is about here, and then here out, and a little bit lower than I was going to draw. Then to the vanishing point. So here, these legs on this side are just going to be one right in front of the other, so you're only going to see really probably only this leg and this leg. If there's any thickness to the table, that back corner is right here, and so if this table has some thickness to it, which it very likely will, it's going to cover up that intersection of the back, and you're not going to see that leg on the floor. So resist the temptation to like make an extra leg, like boop, sticking down there. That makes, you know, it might make your brain happier to know, like, yes, I see that leg, but you don't really see it. Your mind's playing tricks on you. There, little sliver. You might not get much of this, like that surface of the inside. You see front and side, but just put a little bit there as much as you can. You know, in some cases, you might just put a heavier line weight there and leave it at that. You really can't see that. And of course, you know, when you to know like what the height of this, like you have like the top with like a little bit of a outwardly beveled edge to it, then some thickness with this like rail that goes around. You'll look at the design of the chair, of like a table that you've chosen, and that's what you'll use. Blue. That's a lousy one. Okay. If I want to maintain my detail, I need to sharpen that. Okay. Any questions about drawing this table in front?
Would you mind doing it one more time?
Not at all. I'll put another piece of tracing paper down. So, maybe I can ask, does what I'm drawing look right to you?
Yes.
Good. I mean, you should take note of things like, well, that's really, You know, like the top of this table is, I'm sure, the way I've drawn it, it's deeper this way than it is wide, but this looks very short. And that is perspective. Like the back legs are going to be like way back here. Okay, and let's say if I have a, let's see, like a coaster. Some other thing on the table sitting parallel. I don't know what. Yep. There. I don't want to have too much on that table if I'm meant to use it as a coffee table or something. So if you had then you could have a piece of, like a book or something like this sitting at an angle where you'd have like way out here, vanishing points, 2-point perspective. All right, so let's go back and do the table again, because it's important to know how to draw. I mean, if you design something and you need to draw it, then you might not design it thinking like that it's something that you can draw. Okay. Oh, man, the cuts on the ends of my fingers and then really dry skin is a bad combination. All right. Just that. All right. Now here, I might want to come in here. No, that's too waxy. I can't really go over it. I'll just draw this. Yeah, too big. Yeah, that's the great and terrible thing about ink is once it's down, it's down. Okay. All right, so I had here my table. I got like my width of my, my width of my chair is about here. And if I want the table a little wider, then I can just put a mark a little bit past this mark for the width of my chair and then a little bit forward like that. And then if I draw it all the way across like this, and I start my my rectangular base right there, then I'll know that if I draw this in perspective, I'm drawing a table. If the back edge is here, the front edge is here, then I know it's a little wider than the chair, and it's symmetrical. So it's like kind of like it's lined up. It's lined up, spaced evenly with the chair, so that it's the same depth, about the same depth here as it is in the front. Then, to get the height of this out here, my seat is 18, but it's this is a little farther away, so I can't just go straight across with from my seat height. I think I might have puffed it up a little bit. I gotta go over the wall. I gotta make one just for the chair. Back over the wall, up to that 18-inch line, which is there. And then back over, and there's my seat. There's my table height. Right there. All right. So it's a little soft and sort of a little blurry from having all the layers of trace, but hopefully it helps you to see these things, sort of like helps to highlight them as I draw them. All right. Now from here I can draw to the vanishing point. The depth of the top comes from like my original base where I drew the rectangle before I drew the height here. This is making it look like this is the leg, but that's really not what it is. This is the closer, like almost like if it's a box, this is like the side facing closest to me. At the corner here is where the back leg would be and goes up. Must have done this a little bit differently because now, no, actually I wouldn't, because the leg would be like there. I'm still not going to see that back leg. This leg covers it. That goes up to there. Did that help to see that again? Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, it did. I think I'm just gonna have to keep like repeating it.
Yep, probably. But
Thank you.
you're welcome. I really think that every one of you will be in a slightly different place in terms of what you come into the class with as previous experience, and like what makes sense to you now with what I'm teaching and what you still have to work on learning. So I can't assume that everybody has this as like that you all have uniform understanding from what I'm showing you. So I want to make sure that the basics are understood. If you have questions for more advanced things, then please ask. But wherever you happen to be in terms of your understanding, I suggest you practice it. If it helps you to, if you've got a certain design of chair that you've drawn that you can draw it, then I would suggest you practice it. Practice turning it in different positions. Just become, have like something that you become very familiar with. It'll help because it'll put you in the right mindset. And it'll remind you of how perspective works. I think it's time for a break right now. And I will be back. What is the time? It is 2:10. Let's take 15-minute break. Come back at 2:25, and we'll do some more demos. And you can ask questions of me, and if you have any drawings for me to look at, I'd like to see them. Okay?